back and forth. All right, what's up, This is Khaliq, and I'm trying to get it.
Khaliq, I'm trying to get it kickstarted, Glover.
Oh, that's all right. Trying to get it kickstarted.
He just got married, so his wife's chasing him around the studio.
Oh, you know. Oh man, yeah. Yep. So I'm just trying to get it all going here, and we haven't done this in a little while, so we're a little discombobulated. I'm a little fuzzy, but I'm gonna clear all that up and get my lighting straight again and everything. So y'all just hang out for a second, talk to each other. This is 2015, and we are just getting things cracking here. So yeah, you know, everybody. That's kind of what we're gonna talk about some big plans for the year, some good successes and wins that have happened, and things that are lining up, and all that stuff. So you know, let's share with the world and get everybody going. And I'm gonna turn this off, and I'll be right back.
Sweet. Let's hear from Mr. Glassford. What's going on?
Yeah, good, man. Good New Year. Very blurry, but good nonetheless. I've decided after the next 3 months, I'm gonna try do music engineering full time and quit my office job, which is terrifying and exciting at the same time. You know, I'm letting the whole kind of fear of no job drive me to do it, so I have to find work and get into it. So that's kind of my bag at the moment, me trying to find clients and approaching like a lot of bands in my area and just having a real go at it, really. Yeah. How about you guys?
Good. Which camp are you in? Are you in the camp? There's two sets of people. One set claims that you should not have a plan B because having a plan B stops you from focusing on a plan A. The other set says definitely have a B, C, and D. Which set are you in?
Well, I haven't got a plan A yet, so I think having a plan B would jump in the gun.
Do you have a wife and kids?
No, man, I'm only 23. Oh,
well, then you just need to forge straight ahead, brother.
Yeah,
it's just need to forge straight ahead, okay? Sometimes you do need to have a plan B if you got other people riding in the boat.
Yeah.
Not out of consideration for those that are riding and you're driving. You know, you wouldn't want to hit no rocks and you know.
No, and you heard what he said, Dave. You already said that he's only 23, so he doesn't have any wife and kids. Obviously,
that's all right. When I was 23, I was one on the way. So
I said that, but I was about to say, obviously, he lives over there in Jolly Old. He's not from New York. You could have been on your third kid by 23. So,
dude, right about now, I'm trying to figure out how I can set up shop and live in Barbie's dream house over here in my living room.
Right?
Barbie's dream house looking a lot better than my place.
Right.
The rent's a lot less on Barbie's dream house.
She got an elevator. She got a balcony.
Hey, you know what I saw the other day? I saw they got an entrepreneur Barbie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh sweet.
Hey,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. Teach some business skills for a change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just kind of. I literally decided this on Tuesday. I gave my notice in at work on Wednesday. I've got a 3-month notice period for my job.
Man, that's great. That's great. I'm happy for you.
It is great. +1, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the thing is, if you hear a little voice and it tells you to do something, sometimes you have to listen to the little voice. You can't, you know, second guess it because that's your thing that's talking to you, telling you it's time for change, and change is good, man. Change is good. It'll take you a lot of different places, and I know when I quit my regular job to do this full time, I had my second child was 2 days from being born.
Wow.
But I can tell you down to the street, I was making a left turn, and something said, "You need to leave tomorrow." And with that, I came home and I went to work the next day, and they had just given me a raise in an office. I said, you know what, I really need to go. I'm going to be gone about a week, you know. And it was the best thing I could have ever done. Best thing I could have ever done.
Yeah,
you got to follow the voice. You got to follow the voice.
Yeah. I've been working at this place for about 1.5 years, and I enjoy working there. People I work with, everyone's really cool, but if I'm not doing something that I love, so I feel like it's a waste of time to a certain extent. You know, I don't want to be here 10 years later saying, "Oh, I'm now the head of marketing for a shoe company somewhere. It's like that doesn't interest me. You know, I want to be mixing great records from great people, and it's much more fun.
That's all right, man. Don't down shoes. I did that too. I did that too. I used to sell women's shoes, man, from age 17 to about 21.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you still big in the shoe game, Dave?
No, you know what? I tell you what. It teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot. And again, this is before the internet. It teaches you about women's buying habits, and teaches you a lot about shoes. I learned a lot about shoes and footwear, but I learned a lot about marketing and why stores are placed in certain things, because I ran a mall store and then I ran a single store by itself. I just learned a lot about people's buying habits and what motivates people to get something even like they need, like shoes, and what motivates people to buy 2-3 pairs, you know. And those are
pairs
it may not
same
like
color of the same shoe.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's the most important thing too, man?
What?
You didn't turn into Al Bundy. So
I was about to say, you must have been sour over Married with Children. Khaliq beat me to it. Khaliq beat me to it.
Yeah, I didn't turn into Al Bundy.
Big Al Bundy looking. Yeah, but you can learn that just walking down the street with a chick. You know, they'll all be hanging on your arm and hanging on your arm. And then as soon as you walk past the shoe stores,
You're right.
There's a great Instagram account of husbands and boyfriends like lost in like malls. They've just been left with loads of bags and stuff, like sat on them little stools, just like looking really depressed.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's like Sinbad's joke about how all of a sudden Khaliq's gonna be wearing health techs.
Yeah.
I guess Khaliq didn't see that one. That's because now that you got a wife, she's gonna start dressing you.
Oh no!
You make sure you don't get any raps. She's gonna start dressing you.
Now that already happened. Shoot, I had to get away from being dressed like twins.
Just make sure you stay away from the Crocs, man.
Oh yeah, please. Not the Crocs.
Speaking of Playboys, we've got Vladdy on the line. Vladdy, what's happening?
Vladdy.
Hey, Vladdy.
What's up, Vladdy? You looking pretty dapper in 2015.
Vladism.
Yeah. Vlad. Yeah, man, looking good.
What's up?
I'm really happy to see you guys again. And first of all, congratulations, Khaliq, on your wedding. This is a very special moment. I saw the pictures. Of you guys. All the best. And I couldn't stop myself from noticing how you guys really stick together, you and Dave. I mean, and I've been thinking for this for a while. You've been friends and engineers and friends in general for a while, haven't you? 3+ decades.
Yeah, it's probably about 35 years, I think. Something like that.
It's definitely about 35 years now.
Yeah.
33 at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Time flies.
I'm telling you, man. It's like, you know. Yeah, I got to do like Dave got the time machine thing happening there, though, man. You going back, ship it in reverse and everything. When I first got on here, I was up here looking like Father Time. I had my little. I said, oh shoot, I got to shave some of that off.
Yeah. I got a little bit. That's why I zipped up my collar. I got a bunch of gray growing in.
Beard's a big guys, you know. You can get away with it. It's all right.
We're young at heart, man. We're perpetually young at heart. Y'all keep us young, so that's good.
Hey, Khaliq, just in case you end up in the doghouse real soon, Vladdy's got all the fish cooking techniques for you. So.
Okay.
Hit him with a recipe, Vladdy. Hit him with a recipe.
I want to know is how you know all this, Bill.
Hey,
what's the NSA?
That's my boy over there in Glasgow. I'm hip. I'm hip.
I really like fish, guys. It's nothing.
Man, he's trying to play it off. You know how humble Vladdy is.
Yeah. Oh, man.
We'll be on a hangout. He's like, "Hey, excuse me, I have to go turn over the fish."
Yeah. All the techniques.
All the techniques. So
Cool.
if you get in that doghouse, just ask Chef Vladdy. He'll hook you up.
That's what's up. That's up. Well, hey guys, what I wanted to do too today is basically, because we haven't had a chance to be on here for a few weeks now, almost a whole month. So I want to get caught up because, as you know, my year went out with a bang and it's starting out with a good bang and everything. So I want to talk about and empower some folks out here that are watching us. Tell us about some good wins that you guys have, some things that you got lined up, and ways you ended the last year and how this new year is also starting to stack up and everything. Let's share a bit of that. And anybody that's out there, you guys that are watching us, I see a few of you checking it out. Come on in and join us. Come on in on the inside because we're all just trying to, this is the perfect time. We're all trying to really empower each other for moving through this year with more success than ever. I want this year to be the best year yet. Last year ended up great. Started out with a bang and ended up great, but I want even more. Keep pushing the envelope. So why don't some of you guys share some of your wonderful, huge wins of closing out last year and some of the things that are starting to line up in your plans for this year? Who wants to start us out with some of that? Come on, don't be shy. I know.
Well, I can start it if you guys don't mind.
Okay.
All right. So we spent some time. I spent a lot of time listening to you guys and asking you questions. And what really kind of stuck with me is your concept of friendship, and that's why I brought it up. And building relationships with and circles with people that are competent and people that are good for you and good friends and not backstabbing and not bad. So this is the biggest thing I wanted to talk about. This is my agenda basically. So yeah, thanks to you guys, I've been focusing on that and it's been working out really nice. I've made some good friends, good people, and you really are giving a good example about that.
Yeah, it's so important, man, to have yourself surrounded with the right energy. Bill and I had a long conversation about that. Because it takes on a life of its own when negative energy comes in, and it's always the minority, but that minority can become huge and a huge influence and just kind of change everything. So you got to really nip it at the bud. So that's great that you're surrounding yourself with that, and
Yeah. Vladdy, are you in Glasgow still?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Are you going to be there in the summer? Because my band's going to be doing a gig in about May time, so it'd be really cool to kind of like meet and actually, go for a pint or whatever. Cook some fish, whatever you want to do. Man, it'd be nice to hang out.
This would be awesome.
You got everybody's mouth watering on the fish right now.
No. Bill's hand went up when he said a pint.
Yeah.
Well, you know how it is. You know how we do.
I'm getting ready to go get something right now because you made me thirsty.
Well, it's like, what time is it in the U.S.? Like, well, I suppose you're all over the place, because Bill's in New York, and you guys are.
Yeah, it's 5:30 p.m. here. It's
about 2:30 in the afternoon here on Sunday.
Right. Yeah. So I suppose drinking's all right then at this time.
Yeah, we call it sacrament.
Yeah, drinking's all right. That's right. Drinking's all right when I'm awake.
Oh yeah, cool.
I don't drink when I'm asleep.
That would be a skill, something I'd like to see. If you could do that, man, people would pay to see it.
But yeah, that's what Vladdy was talking about is very important because it doesn't seem like it is, because it seems like everybody's doing the same thing at the same time, but they're not. There are a lot of people who are just talking to be talking. They're just lonely people. They have no plans for progress. They have no plans to do anything different than what you saw them do last year, and what you saw them do the year before that, and what you saw them do the year before that. The only thing that they're going to do different from that is run out of money so they can't pay their internet bills and then they disappear. So it's very important to focus your energies on the people who are doing the same things you're doing, that have the same mindset you have. Because when you accelerate and you move forward, there are going to be people that fall back, and there are going to be people that stay in the same spot, and there are going to be people that move forward with you. And as the people that move forward with you, it's just going to happen to overlap with the people who were good friends of yours and that you clicked with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No, that's
and just even here, by virtue of like all the information we exchange here, you're finding good people. You're finding even greater amounts of information. Just the ability to take the information here, apply it for yourself. It's going to give you so much concentrated knowledge about how you understand recording, audio, music, whatever, that it will accelerate you as well. Because even though we're long distance away, we're a quality-based relationship that everybody is trying to work at, right? We've never met physically, but we're all participating in trying to communicate as effectively as possible and pass on stuff or pass aside information to the next person. So because we're actively trying and we don't have that physical thing that connects us, we're paying attention. This is the thing that's lost in real-time relationships.
Right.
People forget to pay attention, and so I think it's real important. Don't just look at it as, oh well, I don't really know them, but but if the information is something you can use, and you don't know any of us, and you've never met us personally, but you've taken the information from the calls and you've applied it and it's worked, that's validation enough.
Yeah.
To know that, what, if we did know each other, yeah, it would just be even better. We'd exchange more information, but the bottom line is that it works.
Yep. And it was interesting, Dave, too, on that, because actually when we had the Music Mixing Success Boot Camp and Bill did his part, he made a very great point that people can see who you really are. That's what really comes out. So anybody that's seen us over time, we've been doing this over a year now, and they see who we really are at our core, as far as are we givers or are we takers? Are we haters, or do we genuinely want to be supportive of folks out here? Are we businessmen to get things done, or are we just talking to be talking? And that's a very huge point, man.
Man, I think for me that this has been helpful, because doing these talks gives me confidence in the other things that you guys knew that I was attempting. When we first started this thing, I hadn't really told anybody but Khaliq about the show and what we were going to do, and he kind of knows what kind of person I am. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not somebody. I spent a lot of time in my career successfully living in the shadows. So it's not my thing to come out of the shadows and tell everybody what's going on in the shadows and how I make my money, because I need to still make my money. So when the opportunity came along, this was one way that got me stronger, where I could carry on conversations and kind of come out of my shell, and it's been real helpful for me, just as a community, to be able to try and kind of listen to what you guys are wanting to know, and then kind of get a voice that speaks to where people are at today. Because what Khaliq and I know, that's us as who we are. But if I'm going to be a communicator and we're going to do other things and it's going to touch a lot more people, I got to be able to hear from everybody. I got to be able to know how you think, Vladi, and how somebody else thinks in somewhere other part of the world, what Andrew's doing. I have to know all those perspectives. So it's been real helpful for me just to keep gleaning off of just the questions you ask, what's going on in your locale, all of it. So that for me was a powerful thing last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, for those of you watching and everything, one thing I want you to know, if you don't know, Dave became the host of a show for the company Waves, the plugins that we all use, and now they're the industry standard. Well, Dave is the host and the face and the person that is like right there in front of the camera to bring together a bunch of high-level people with information that will take and transform your life as far as what you're trying to do in the music industry from a lot of different areas and a lot of perspectives, not just engineering and everything.
Yeah.
So, Dave, congratulations on your show. You did a wonderful job. It's just going to keep growing. The numbers are growing exponentially. The people and the interest are growing exponentially, and more importantly, the benefit to you guys out there that watch these things that we all do are going to grow exponentially as well, too.
Oh, the communities are going to cross up. That's the other thing that you guys need to know. We're not doing this as something that's a separate lane. Everything we do eventually ties together. So, Vladdy, you're very observant to know that, yeah, Khaliq and I do a lot of things, and through it all, we always manage to come back around and cross up, because that's also a part of how you grow the network, you know. But real time, you know, we've been doing this before there was the viral thing. This is the neighborhood plan, okay?
Yeah.
What is it with Dave's and, you know, web shows? Dave Pensado, Dave Hampton. There'll be another Dave next month doing something else as well.
You know, the thing is, we don't really get compared, and I think that was a big thing people were looking at right away. We don't really look at it like that. I think our show, what we try and do is give people a view of the past and also a look at how to look ahead. Because while we are talking about everything audio, we're talking about the connectivity between audio, video, the arts, digital media arts. We're talking about other things. We're going to talk about health issues. We're going to talk about a whole lot of things that have to do with audio related, you know, or connected by audio. So we're not going to be constricted to just mixing songs. You know, all the websites that do it, they're all good. They all have something to offer. But I think for us, what we're trying to do is kind of lead people to a point where you can get on top of all the activity for a second and see what's going on, and see really that audio is taking place everywhere. And with this skill set that we all have in common, you have a place you can go literally with anything going on, and you can make a contribution. You can create a career. As Andrew was saying, he's getting ready to leave his regular work and subsist totally on being an audio professional. So that in itself means that you've gotten a look at something, and in your mind you're going, you know what, there's enough out there for me. And that's really all you need. That's really all you need to kind of guide your boat.
Just have the drive to do it, really.
Yeah.
Well, the last time we chatted about this kind of thing, you were like, well, how do I tell people I actually want money?
Yeah.
I see you got past that, Andrew.
I see you got past that, so now it's time to get busy.
Well, that's why I'm playing off the fear card. It's not going to be like, how do I tell people? It's like, I'm going to need the money, so I've got to tell them. I've got to demand the money up front to do it. Yeah.
But you know, it's a good thing that we talk about stuff like that too. I just got finished talking to Bill about this, and you know, when everybody makes their discoveries about the next thing they're going to do, it's good that you guys are open enough to ask questions about the business aspect of what's going on, because it's very real. It's very real, and if you ask about it, you basically beat that demon out of the room. It's no longer alive and growing. You know, sometimes you can be so eager to want to work that you'll start working before you establish guidelines, and pretty soon you've dedicated all this time, but you ain't paid your light bill. so you got to keep it real, and I think the fact that we have that dialogue, and when you guys have questions, you don't mind saying, hey, I'm trying to figure out what to charge, I'm trying to do this, and what's a good strategy, and I think all of it is good because it just shows no fear.
Absolutely. It's a great point too. And one of the things that I want to share with everybody too, because you know, Dave and I over the course of these decades have still always had to contend with what you guys all have to contend with as well. How do I make a living and, you know, and enjoy what I do and everything? So there was times when you know, everybody sees me as, you know, okay, Khaliq, you Grammy winner and you know, work with all these people, but they don't forget that my story started out that when I came to California, the first job I got was McDonald's. And I stayed there for years and became a manager of McDonald's and everything. And I easily could have got stuck in there. You know, they tried to send me to Hamburger U and all that stuff. But I was like, no, I got a bigger plan than that. But, you know, the bottom line is if I wanted that kind of stability, I could have did it. So your mindset means you have to do what you got to do to make it happen, get in, figure out your money, and then figure out your next money and your next money. You know, like right now, Dave knows, you know, we get creative and we have our little skull sessions regularly about what do we think's coming over the horizon next and how can we best serve it. It always comes from a point of serving as opposed to because the money thing comes. You know, the way I got in the studio on gigs and everything is I didn't go in because I wanted to be an engineer and make a lot of money. I went because I love music and I wanted to learn to be the best at what I did. I started out playing guitar that way and wanted the best that I could be on guitar. I was never going to be the best guitar player in the world because there's always somebody that's going to be better than you. But I was the best that I could be as far as just driving myself. Engineering part opened up, and then I strived, oh, let me be the best that I can be and not worried about, oh, he ain't as good as such and such, or he ain't as good as me and all that. That's not even a consideration that you should have in your mind because it'll stop you in your tracks if you worry about that. Just be the best you can be, keep going on it. Right now, what I do is try to see what's the best I can be as far as sharing my knowledge and my experience and everything from a different point of view. Because the one thing's for sure is there's so many, I'm so impressed with everybody out there now. There's so many good things to learn from people now all over the world, and no one person has it all, you know. So I'm not going to out-tutorial you guys with anybody else. There's too many things out there, you know. So you can find all the things, but what I am good at is showing you how to take all that information that you've gotten. You know, you've been drinking from a fire hose and everything, so I can show you how to take one gulp at a time so you don't drown, you know. And that's what's been keeping me online, you know. I mean, that's what's keeping my thing going now. You know, the being a recording artist or being the top mixing engineer or getting record deals and things like that happened that may have been goals in the past. You know, your goals shift as you go on. But whatever it is you're trying to do, give the most value that you can to people and do it at the highest level that you can do it, you know, and you'll be okay, you know. So that's what I think I want to pass on to everybody for this upcoming year, that if last year was like the year before, and everything, what'll change that for you is find one thing and find one good thing and then focus on that, master that part, and it'll take you to the next thing, and you'll get what you want, you know. Just do that and raise your value. Yep. Well, let me ask Andrew, what do you have? How did you close out the year? What was a great win for you to close out the year, and what's leading up and in store for you for this year?
So last year I worked on a project called No More Room in Hell, which is it's a video game, and I mastered the soundtrack for that.
Oh, cool.
So it was like an independent game, and I got on that a profit share for the sales of the soundtrack. And I got my first paycheck from that this week. Granted, it wasn't much, but it was my first proper paycheck for doing audio stuff and something I was really proud of. So that's kind of the best thing that happened in 2015. And you know, the soundtrack's still selling, so I'll have something just to keep me afloat for a bit, whether it be 2-3 months, which I'm really happy about. And then, you know, like personal stuff, like doing stuff with I play in a band, and I was actually getting decent gigs and finding our feet properly, and you know, feeling tied together as musicians, as people. That's been really good to actually, you know, feel vindicated for, you know, when you're happy with your playing, you know, you play, then you get to some point and you kind of get stuck, and then I had that problem in August, and I've jumped past that now, and I'm really happy where I am now because I got guitar lessons again, which you're always learning. So, you know, even you know, if you were Joe Satriani, I reckon, you know, every now and again I'll go, oh, I don't know what that is, and he'll start learning something else, and you know, and it's just the process of constant, what's the word I'm looking for, you know, development. Yeah, just always trying to develop yourself to be something a bit better. What you just said there about, you know, worrying about people being better than you, that's actually an amazing point, because I always get that fear that there's other people in my area who are better mix engineers than me, and there will be, of course, because I'm in a big city. But that doesn't matter. As long as I do it to the best of my ability, people will want to work with me because they know, well, I know what I'm doing and I'm passionate about it. So I think 2015 is going to be a good year just for the fact that I'm going to try to work in audio as a profession and get out of having a boring office job. You know, doing something that I love, and just having a go at it, because what else am I going to do? I might as well try.
Good for you, man. Now's the time. You know, now is what's in front of you. You know, that's a great point too, because I used to always worry about that. But see, that's the thing that and the funny thing is when I talk to anybody, it's you know, no matter how long they've been doing it, people that started out way before me that I looked at as like, oh, I'll never be as good as them and everything. Well, the funny thing is they always have the same thing too. It's like, oh, I'm getting behind or I'm losing and such and such. So you're all, if you have an internal thing inside of you that makes you just want to keep getting better and stay better and do the best, be the best you that you can be, that should be the main concern, and that's always going to keep you there. Because one thing is that I know I got a lot of gigs, and Dave can tell you, probably happened with him, and he's seen it with me. I've got a lot of gigs above, you know, where I maybe, I won't say beat out other people that had more credentials or more experience. It wasn't so much beating them out, but what it was is I was the right person for that job, regardless if somebody has way more experience, regardless of whether they have way more awards and everything. That's not the important thing. If you are meant to be the right fit for that project, the spirit that you bring to the project, when the people get around you, they enjoy being with you, and you're doing quality work, you're prepared because you've done your preparation meets opportunity. Well, some people call it luck, but that's not luck. You were prepared, and the opportunity came up, and it doesn't matter where anybody else was. That was yours. It was meant for you. You were the right person at the right time, and you just got to consider it. And if you get bumped out of something, then you can't freak out about that one, because I've been bumped out of things where I really wanted it, and you know, it just wasn't my time or wasn't meant for me. It was meant for that other thing, and you got to be okay with that. If you can live with that, that's how your life is always going to stay in balance. And the good thing that comes out of it that I found is that you always, in the end, when you weigh it one to the other, it always is more positive than negative. It always works out that way.
You know, and there's always going to be more bands and artists. You know, no matter where you live, there's going to be more musicians to work with. People are always going to want decent recorded stuff. It doesn't matter how much technology there is out there. The difference between someone throwing up presets on a mix and someone actually putting time and energy and getting the feel out of a song is so different that there's always going to be work for people like this. It's just finding the people who appreciate it.
Yeah. You know, that I had a discussion. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Bill.
I was just going to say real quick, the other thing is, even though you can't let stuff like this take a lot of your time, you should pay attention to what I've heard from a lot of people, which is CLA and everybody. A lot of the bigwigs have said that, no, they did not muscle their way into the industry. Mm-hmm. They happened to be there doing something lesser, and at some point, somebody didn't show up, somebody got sick, somebody went to the hospital, somebody didn't want to do it, and they got their shot. Yeah. So you can't spend a lot of time focused on that, but I'm just saying, as you're going around talking to people and studios and whatnot, they might have some nonsense for you to do. Mm-hmm. You might want to do that nonsense for a small amount of your time, because you might be there doing that nonsense when somebody says, hey, I need to do this right now, and you're the only one that can do it. And that's been in a lot of stories I've heard. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to run around Manchester breaking assistants' feet. I think it's the best way to get into the industry.
Right. Sorry, your engineer couldn't come in today. How about
he got hit by a bus. Really weird. Like,
I don't know what happened. It's so unfortunate.
I happened to be on the bus. It's not my fault.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a new chat member here, Khaliq.
What's up, Marish? How you doing, man?
Hey, man.
Yeah, you were able to get on.
Morning.
Morning. Where are you at? You still in Australia?
Yeah, I'm living here. I'm back here.
Hey, you guys cut your hair for the show.
Hey,
you and Vladdy cut your hair.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you then.
I said you and Vladdy both cut your hair for the show.
Yeah.
You
like
too,
this?
Dave. Don't try to put yourself out here. You come on here look like the Count of Monte Cristo, man. Don't.
This is my DIY haircut. What do you think?
Hey, man.
That's what's
Hey,
up.
it looks fly, man.
You must have been doing some business over at the bank.
That's the new style. You should do a how-to YouTube video.
Oh, you know how I did it? This is my phone, and then I got a trimmer, and then I was looking in the
That's what's up.
camera.
Skills.
Oh yeah. Well, hey man, just to let you know, we've been talking about the wins of closing out 2014 and coming into 2015 with a super winning mindset, starting it out with a bang, and everybody's just kind of sharing where they're thinking about it's going to go, where they want to go, having a plan. Because Bill mentioned it previously. There's a lot of people that have talked all kinds of stuff, and they're actually in the exact same place that they were talking last year at this time. So we're going to make sure we're not one of those.
Yes. I remember I made some hefty goals last year to achieve, and I think I've done much better. I didn't achieve all of those goals, but I did get, if I look back 12 months ago, I'm in a better place now than where I was.
Skype. That's Dave. Let me meet you.
And but yesterday I made new goals and I put them in my phone so I can look at them every day. I moved my studio now into a separate space. It used to be in my house. So my studio, my drum room, jam room, everything is in a separate space. I rented that place, so I'm paying money. So I want to, it sort of keeps you motivated and you want to get out and do more stuff because, there's that sort of push.
Yeah.
And so my goals for this thing is get more involved in drumming with original bands, starting with my wife and a couple of other friends. Then I'm drumming for this jazz fusion thing, which is still, in the baby stages. But I want to write more stuff myself using samples and stuff, and then get some local artists who are sort of known in the area in Australia to collaborate. And by the end of the year, I want to have at least an album worth of material that's I've created with myself and the other artists. And in between, I'll be recording a few different artists, friends of mine, like my drum teacher. He's a very known jazz drummer, and he's got his jazz band, and they want to put out a record this year. So I'm in contact with him to, do the recording and mixing. So
what would you say is the biggest thing you learned coming out of that? Because I know you've been doing a lot of these things, and they're definitely coming together for you. So what was the biggest thing that you learned coming out of last year that you're going to carry into this year to help you take it even farther?
Biggest thing is, number A is stay busy. Stay busy, like I'm doing all different sort of things, like drumming. At times I'm DJing, at times I'm mixing or recording or writing my own music. Just stay busy. Don't worry too much about the money side of things. Those things will happen if you are thinking of staying busy. And from the money side of things, because we talked about how do we ask people for money for your work. You start doing that, you have to cross that hurdle, which I did about 12 months or 15 months ago. You ask them once, and then automatically everyone knows that you're not going to do it for free. And the moment it's your livelihood, you don't feel scared, or you don't feel like, oh, how I'm going to ask this person. You just go like, look, man, that's what I charge. We can work out a deal, but I'm not going to do it for free. You know what I mean? So that's what I've been getting. I haven't done any free gigs.
That's a huge thing.
12 months. Yeah.
And that's a mindset thing too, because a lot of times we don't value what we bring to the table. I know many times in the past I used to wonder if I knew enough, if I was good enough. if I had this or had that, you know, there's so many more options out there. And so you start actually talking yourself out and down, and that carries out into the outside world, because people can kind of sense that if you're not confident about the value that you're bringing to the table and for what you can do for them, then right away, of course, they're not going to want to give you the money, you know. So you have to come knowing that I'm bringing value. I know my stuff. I put in the work and everything, and this is not free. You wouldn't ask any other professional to come in, including you wouldn't ask yourself to come in to do something and not be compensated. So you have to be, your mindset has to be firm and sure. And know that I'm bringing you value, so it's not, I'm not asking you to give me something and I'm not giving you something back where you're getting a lower thing. You got to know that I'm gonna actually give you more than your value, you know.
I got asked for a couple of free gigs last year. That was the only time, and I had to tell that person, like, because there was a fair bit of effort involved from my side to do those gigs. I'm still happy to do it for a friend, just, you know, playing one set here and there, but the person I didn't know, and then I said, look, you know, I do this for a living, so for me to be able to get out there with my gear and, you know, rehearse, and, you know, that's a lot of time and effort and learning songs and everything, so I'm going to charge at least this sort of base, 150, whatever, bucks. And if you can't do that, then I can recommend you who could probably get you for free. So I said, okay, I'll.
That's great. And here's a tip too that I want to give everybody too, that I learned after a while, because like you said, sometimes you want to do things for free for people, you know, depending on how your heart is moved. But a great thing to do is if you're doing something for free or not, you know, unless it's just for somebody that's the closest of close that you don't need to do this. Make an invoice anyway, and then write it off as saying that write it off, put a value to it of what it would be, and then write it off down to zero balance of that. You know, how you're gifting it to them or donating your time or whatever, but at least has a value, and plus they see the value. So they're not paying anything. They still see a value that this is an invoiceable process here that I'm receiving as a gift, and so that keeps your value high, as opposed to I got somebody to do something for free for me. No, it wasn't free. I gave you a gift.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
man.
like, I mean, I have done free stuff. Like the other day, a friend of mine, I played with him. He's a bass player, but he's more like a country singer-songwriter, and he's in his late 50s. He's struggling financially and everything, you know, but we get along very well. And he wanted to cut a demo of a song that he wanted to take somewhere, and I was like, okay, man, come down. I'll just do a quick, you know, 1 hour or hour and a half, just quick mix, and, you know, off you go, sort of thing, which I did for nothing, but that's okay, you know, you do those sort of things.
Yeah. Well, everybody, I just want to put this in too, because one of the things that we all proceed with as we go along, and everybody in our industry, we got a lot of different things that we feel that we need to have and we need to acquire and stuff like that. So and there's a very big difference from the things that we actually need versus what we want, or the things that we need, why we want them, you know. So maybe tell me a few things that you feel like you might need to have, or you just want to have, and why. Explain that to me. Anybody want to jump in on some things?
I mean, sorry, I'll jump in.
Go ahead.
From a musician's point of view, you know, you're always looking for gear. Like, in my case, it's drums, and, you know, you're looking for sticks and different drums, or this popular
You already
drummer.
have some drums, though, right?
Sorry?
You already have some drums, right?
Yeah, a few.
So it's not really a need; it's more of a want.
Nah, it's yeah, exactly. And then I've scaled down quite a bit, and I'm just down to really basic, you know, rather than having a gazillion cymbals and drums. I'm like, hey, man, less is more, that sort of thing. You know, all you need is a drum that you like the sound of, and that's it. You don't need.
Give me something specific. Give me something.
Yeah.
something that you want specifically.
Mm. So, sorry, I didn't get that. What you said?
Give me something that you want specifically, a certain drum or a piece of something that you just mentioned that you feel like you just want to have it specifically. You know, you want to have it. Then tell me why do you want to have it?
Yeah. For example, snare drums. You can probably do with just one drum kit, but you need to have multiple snare drums to get those different sounds.
Why do you have to have multiple snare drums?
Now, if I'm playing in a funk band, and depending, what sort of sound I'm going for, I'm not going to get all the sounds from one snare drum.
Right.
If I want that fat, heavy, sort of 70s, sort of sound, then I need a certain type of drum.
Right.
And so on. So that sort of a thing. So you're always sort of messing around with different gear. And yeah.
The reason why I'm asking that, I'm pushing it for other people, because people get confused with a lot of these things, and then they get frozen on what to do or where to go, and you've got to really distinguish. I really feel it's good to distinguish why you want certain things, and everybody says, well, I just need to have this, need to have that. And they don't think about the process of, well, why do you need to have it? And so what you just explained is perfect, because it'll help you apply a different sound to the different genres based on the tool that you have, and that's a great reason.
Well, I did the same thing with my audio interface. I have a PreSonus Studio Live 16 channel, which I use for live and sometimes in the studio. And other than that, I had a M Audio, really basic 2-channel. Used to have it, and then I was like, hey, it's time to upgrade something a bit more solid and robust. And then I started looking around with automated faders, and I don't know, I was just looking around in the market, but then I came across RME Fireface, which is much expensive than your entry-level interfaces, but they got better converters and everything else. So I started looking for that. I said, hey, why am I just jumping from another entry-level to another entry-level? Why don't I just jump to something that's a bit solid and sort of future-proof, which I can take it into a big studio still if I end up having one.
Yeah.
So I started looking on the internet, and I found a guy who was selling secondhand, still in good condition, and I got a Fireface 800, which is like, I was speaking to another friend of mine after getting it, and he said, it looks like you got a pretty much future-proof interface there, which you can take into a big studio and still, it'll be useful then. So that's the biggest purchase that I did in 2014.
You say score, children?
Yeah.
Scored. That's great. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, I think it's very important for us all to remember, because we get so caught up in just acquiring stuff for no reason. It needs you had the perfect thing of like, well, I go from one thing to another, and it's going to still kind of keep you here. It's not accomplishing anything. If you're going to do something like that, it makes a huge quantum leap in what your sound quality is, and it future proofs what future proofs where you're at. Then it makes a lot of sense, that's when we get into these conversations about a lot of the different interfaces and everything, and a lot of them are kind of on a linear thing, but it's the new shiny object, So doing research to make that big jump is a huge thing. Yeah. Anybody else want to attack that?
This is a really cool subject, actually, because a lot of people get sad because of it. And I'm no exception. I used to do the same thing. So what really impressed me is the way you distinguish the two things, the need and the want side of it. So personally, let's say we have a really small setup for singer-songwriters, per se, and we need we have a couple of small diaphragm condensers and an SM7.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think would be a nice addition to that for the singer-songwriter acoustic style music? What type of microphone?
Somebody else, Dave, you want to get in on that, or Bill, or anybody?
Ribbons. I just love ribbons. I would say that for anything. Like my take at the moment is all about recording space as opposed to just recording sound sources. So I got a pair of Fathead ribbon mics by Cascade, and I just set them up in like a I don't know how to say it, the Bloomian technique, where it's like one that way and then one that way. I kind of just put it in front of like singer-songwriters, so you get the space around them as well, and it's more about them having a really good performance as opposed to them isolating the sound sources, and you get a really kind of natural vibe, I find. So maybe some ribbon stuff, and they're pretty cheap as well on Cascades, about 300 quid.
Never had a chance to use them. That's cool. I've always wondered about how they were.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, man. That's good.
It's actually kind of a clouded subject for me because I see cheap ribbons and expensive ribbons, and people say that cheap ribbons, their ribbons can sag and they can get out of the magnetic field, and then they sound really boomy. And let's say if you compare them to something more, there's something better, like. Have you guys heard of these AEA guys?
Oh yeah, AEA's been around for decades. Yeah. One of the very best.
Yeah. I think the thing to remember about cheap ribbons, let's stop using the word cheap. Let's just say cost effective, okay? Cost effective equipment, such as a ribbon microphone. You already know a ribbon is a precision construction. But if you're getting a cost-effective ribbon, you're still getting the ribbon theory, but it's going to be some of the little rough edges. You're not going to have as serious matching on the components. You're not going to have the calibrated, machined parts. When you get an AEA microphone, every part is machined by hand. Okay, everything is built by hand, and it's calibrated. Everything is within a tolerance so that everything that goes off is identical, hand built. It's damn near like a Manley's built, right? So that's the difference. And then when you go to some of these other ones, and I'm not saying they're bad, I'm saying what they do is they give you a representation of the ribbon theory. So remember, if what you can afford is a Cascade or a couple, it doesn't mean they're a bad microphone. It just means it's the same concept brought to you at an affordable rate. Take it, use it, experiment with it, and then if you get a chance and you're doing something else, rent a Royer, okay? Yeah. Rent a Royer and put it up next to what you learned on your cost-effective ribbon, and then you will understand the difference at times between what is capable, what's not capable, on the different varying degrees of equipment, because you're dealing, one is a precision-based construction, the other one is a assembly line mass production mindset. Doesn't mean it can't help you graduate to the next place. It also doesn't mean that you cannot get something that you can very well use on a project. So that's the one thing that you can never do. So it's very easy for some people to say, oh, I read an article about cheap ribbons. But you know what? Cheap ribbons have to exist. Why? Because there's more people that need to have their hands on recording products than there are people who can afford top-level AEA ribbon microphones. Right? So the Cascade and some of those other cost-effective components, they have a home and they have a necessity. And their necessity is to bring you that theory of that technology so you can practically apply it for what you're doing. And you're going to get some results, you're going to get some empirical data, you'll be able to hear it, but like I said, when you get a chance to be around a Royer or an AEA or even Audio-Technica has a ribbon they just came out with. Shure has a ribbon. Any of those, you're going to get a chance to hear the difference. You'll hear the difference, but you'll know how to work with it also.
Yeah.
You know.
One of the strange benefits from having these, though, is because they look really nice. So when clients see them, they're impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because they pay you so much, and then it's like, oh wow, we've got these. Oh, this is going to sound amazing. They have no idea what's inside this. Like, it could just be like 2 paper clips and a magnet. And
Yep.
but
It's funny,
strange
yeah.
how aesthetics can help so much with clients.
That's a great point, because when you're trying to work for others, a big part of it is, see, we get caught up in the engineering side, but we got to remember a big part of it is perception from people just walking in the door. This is why a lot of people still have big boards, and probably in most cases these days, in a lot of situations where people have big boards, most of the time they're not even using the board other than bringing in a stereo thing. I mean, when you say that, they're probably 95% now.
Yeah, and some very big names, mind you. Some very big names have big, large format consoles, and when you go to see what's going on with the workflow, you got 2 stereo inputs for the output of Pro Tools and 1 microphone input.
Mm-hmm. But when you're trying to get somebody to put down that money and lock it out, the big console provides what is that wow factor. Okay, this is the place.
Yep.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they're not using it, but it just means that a lot of times we think certain things because it's the placebo of seeing it, so we assume everything is in use.
Yep.
Well, this is why I said the need versus the want and everything
Right.
is very important to distinguish the two.
We also have a new chat group member, Khaliq.
Yep, Gary, what's up, man? Unmute yourself, buddy.
Hey, how you doing?
We're doing good, good. Welcome, man.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. Is that what we're up
What part of
on?
Minneapolis?
The west side.
Okay.
Near what? What's some of the landmark places you'd say?
Eden Prairie, probably Chanhassen.
Chanhassen, Eden Prairie, all that. Yeah, that's right down there near Paisley Park.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm like 10 minutes from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, cool. Yep. Very familiar. So you were catching it too in the snow and the cold and all that as well.
That weather.
5 degrees, maybe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 5 degrees.
Yeah, man.
That's all right. You can still go up to Houlihan's and have a fish sandwich.
Yep. Oh man, it's funny. Yeah, cool, man. Cool. Well, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. You haven't. This is your first time being on the Hangout with us?
Yes, sir. That's I've been doing this about since 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school down in Florida, not Full Sail, but Unity Gain Recording Institute with Anthony Iannucci.
Okay. Cool.
He's a New York native and all that. And anyway, right now I'm just freelancing, whatever I can get. I'd like to eventually get to the point to move to LA or New York or wherever the work is and get a mentor. And it's hard. It's hard as a freelancer. And like I say, I'll do whatever, tune vocals, forensic restoration, whatever I got to do live, whatever, So.
What's your specialty that you say makes you stand out?
I would say my forensic restoration capabilities and tuning of vocals.
Yeah, I caught when you said that, so I was like, oh, let me dig a little deeper, because that's a very interesting way of putting it that most people haven't done. So tell us a little more about that side of it, and what have you learned and what excites you on that?
I like it because it's niche market. There's not a lot of competition. And really, I mean, any lawyer, I wouldn't say the police stations, but any lawyers, public defenders, they all need that, extraction as well as tape transfers, old, record transfers and stuff. We did a lot of that when I was in Florida. People would record in the 30s to vinyl, and now they want their parents' songs or whatever on disc. So we had to, I use RX4 for that.
Yeah. It's interesting too. You should, you and Dave should talk back and forth, because Dave has had to do a lot of that dealing with the Miles Davis estates, different audio things, and all the challenges that come up with that.
That's cool.
Yeah, the restoration thing is good. You know, I'm trying to think. There's a place in Minnesota, National Public Radio. You should go check out.
Okay,
you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, NPR over in St. Paul, but they probably would have the need for a person like you. I'm trying to remember the guy's name over there, but really great facility, a lot of rooms. They do a lot of shows out of that facility.
Yeah.
And but they need people who are strategic here. There's a whole section of Minnesota downtown where there's a lot of video houses that could utilize audio people. A lot of video editing going on down there.
Yeah, that's what I see. I mean, I've had a lot of interviews, and it's mainly video market here, which is
right. Well, you know, the Minnesota Film Commission kind of got really off into recruiting a lot of productions to come out the Minnesota area. But part of that is there's a lot of established studios. I think one of them is like Studio 440. There's a whole row of offices. They look like offices, but they're actually multimedia facilities where there's editing and other things going on. But usually where you have a lot of video activity, you will have a lot of neglect of the audio side of the production. So they usually need audio-intensive people, but you have to kind of go in and make yourself available and kind of see and have the conversation so that they can understand you know a little bit more than just music. You know, the forensic side is very good to emphasize because it allows you then to take things and elements from the past and help them create the new asset that they're creating. So a lot of it when you're looking for work is in changing how you represent what it is that you know. Because for music conversations, am I saying, oh yeah, I know Pro Tools, I know Logic, I know this, but for somebody who wants to do what you're doing and wants to really let somebody know, you have to kind of steer the delivery of who you are and what you know to that portion of the conversation where it opens it up so you can get to the forensic knowledge, you can get to the fact that you can actually build something without music mandatorily being there. You know what I mean?
right. And you know, the thing is there's, I think, Colorado or something like that. They have a certification program, but there's no real certification for this. It's more of a kind of go and learn, you know.
Yeah, there's not, and I know out here in the LA County court system, it's big. I know a friend of mine who is a video director, and he just won a pretty big case for some lawyers, and now he was not even intending on being this, but he's been called for 2 other cases. Because what happens is a lot of what's going on now is you have a lot of people who are committing crimes, but because of the advent of YouTube, they've been pulling out their phone and recording the crime that they commit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they get caught, they think nobody can go back and do that. And people obviously have the knowledge and are able to do that. So now that's a big part of the court system. So major cities like Los Angeles, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, they all have digital crimes divisions.
Right.
And,
so that's where I think, you know, going toward the lawyers and that, you know, at least then, you know, they're going online to these people. Well, we just did a job for a city in Iowa. You know, they were charging something like $1,000 for an hour or 2 hours, and I think we did it for like $250 is what it was.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not trying to be cheap, but it's, you know, it's not. It's just like anything audio. It's getting your foot in the door. You know.
Yeah. No, that's good, man. That's good. You picked a very good place to focus on because there are not a lot of people who would knowingly go there.
Garrett, how did you get into forensic audio work?
Well, the school I went to is a studio by day, and I interned there, and I just had interest in it, you know, because I went to AES, and you know, they have a bunch of those conferences and that there, and I sat in all of those, and I went to school for originally for criminal, and I just always had an interest in it, you know, and however I can help, you know, it's more of that. I don't know. It's just I want to say it comes natural. It's just you know, I know what to hear or what to listen for.
So is it a case of they'll give you an audio file and you've got to try and decipher what people are saying, or like other kind of evidence from it.
Right. No, not 100% of the sound can always be eliminated. But with the proper tools and techniques, anything can be pretty much brought out to the point you can, it's comprehensible.
Right. It's interesting. I just wondered. I didn't know how that kind of worked or what the.
Are you using any other tools other than RX?
Well, I started with SoundSoap.
SoundSoap, yeah. I was going to ask you if you use SoundSoap Pro. What about anything like have you ever used Spectra Layers by Sony?
No, I looked into Cedar, but that's a little
pricey. Some of those ones like that. Really good tools. Even what is it? Adobe Audition has some tools built in that can do some, spectral processing and pulling stuff in and out as well. Have you tried any of the other tools like that?
No, what I'll do is I run it through RX first, one run, and then I'll go and use Z-Noise from Waves.
From Waves, yeah.
I'm a beta tester for Waves as well, so I have access to all that. I'll use Z-Noise, X-Noise, and then I'll run it back through again and use the denoiser. And because if you do too much denoising, it's almost like using too much compression. It's really alters.
Plus it adds stuff that wasn't there, aliasing and all kinds of little
harmonics.
Yeah. So it's some good stuff. Oh, Sonox also has a great set of restoration tools too.
I don't think I've heard.
Sonox used to be Sony Oxford,
Okay.
And they started out with they just got some great stuff, very high level. So yeah, if you want to check any of that out. Yeah, that's very interesting. I think you're the first person that has addressed that side of it. And a lot of people don't even realize that there's so many different ways of looking at what we do out here. So that's why a wide open area.
Right, that's correct. I mean, there's, everybody thinks it's mixing, editing, and mastering. There's like 40 different other ways to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing's for sure is crime ain't going nowhere, so you'll always be busy.
Crime doesn't pay, but audio crime pays.
I think older
you're audio vigilante, right?
Yeah, right.
Like Spider-Man with tapes.
Yeah. Come on, punk, make my wave. Cool. Anybody else want to chime in on some of this stuff? This is a great conversation.
Yeah. I'd like to ask Dave something.
Yeah.
Regarding Miles Davis' work that you're doing, I just watched 90 minutes masterclass of Chick Corea and Stanley Clark. They did a masterclass online through Chick's website. And they were talking about understanding jazz, and it was a great 90 minutes of understanding music, basically, because that's at the end of the day, even if you're an engineer or mixer or mastering engineer or studio guy, you're still working with music, and if the better you understand it, the better you're going to produce. So I'm just wanted to ask you, like, with your work that you doing on Miles Davis estate, you must be working with a big team sort of thing, or what sort of setup you got there?
Well, what I work on specifically is his personal tapes. So during several periods of his life, he was a recluse, okay? And he would stay home, and you have to remember, as big as he was, he could not really go out without creating a scene. So he stayed in a lot, and he played the radio and, just painted and did things, just self-development things. But how he stayed current, because there was no Spotify, there was no things like that, he listened to the radio. So he taped the radio and he would listen to the radio. So sometimes I hear phone calls, sometimes I hear him listening to the radio, sometimes you know, one tape will be him listening to radio, and then the next tape will be him inspired to write a song for somebody off of a sound he heard on the radio. You got to remember, this is during I think right now I'm on the 70s.
Yeah.
And so what happens in the 70s, you've got the advent of synthesizers coming into music, and he was very inspired by some of the artists he was hearing, Stevie Wonder, Prince, and they were all coming on the scene using this electronics in a different way, and he was trying to push the envelope. So, you know, he already was experimenting, but he was being inspired by these sounds. And so that's a lot of what we're hearing. And a lot of them are rehearsal tapes, you know. The difference is the rehearsal tape of his, it sounds like an album.
Yeah, that's...
Because you got to remember, and this is like, I've got some, I mean, 57 to 60s, some of those, where they're actually, I thought I was listening to a record. And to the point of where I put my program up on my phone to say, you know what, I got to identify this song too. And it could identify the song, but it was just a take of a rehearsal day. So basically back in the day, because when they went to the studio to do a record, they would rehearse. Then they would go into the studio and they do the record start to finish. They do every song start to finish. If somebody messed up, they would start the song over. And everybody's in the same room at one time. So it's pretty incredible to hear what you think is people rehearsing, because the tape says rehearsing. But it is, in fact, them getting ready to make the record. So you really hear some really neat stuff that, and you know, between the conversations and some of the other things too that are very funny, and sometimes, you know, we go there. You know, so it's a gamut of things. As far as a big team, no, I don't have a big team. It's primarily just me. But depending upon what facility I use, then there's people there and what I have to work with. If I'm just working with DATs, which is stuff that's been already archived, or if I'm actually working with cassettes. This past time I had to work with both. It's challenging because, number one, you got to find enough cassettes that work. You got to find enough DAT machines that work. And I pretty much blew out about 3 DAT machines this last time. Because it's just you want to hear every little thing. And again, the reason why it's important is because when you're dealing with a legacy artist, a lot of time legacy artists, when they have their catalog, like Miles' catalog with Sony. So anything happens with music, when he plays a trumpet, it's Sony. But if he's talking to somebody, he was never a singer. When he signed his deal, it was just to play trumpet. Right? So when he talks, that belongs 100% to his family. So therefore, anything he said in life is profound now, if we find it, you know, and we can unearth it and put it together. So a lot of that is what I do, you know. Somebody wants to do a deal, they want to do something for a commercial, it's up to me to find something unique to use, you know. So it's really it can run the gamut of different things. Right now there's a motion picture in production about him, and so we use some of what I came across as training tapes for the actor who's going to play him. So we just made up a big reel of just him talking, and then we made up some phrases from the script that we had somebody read in his voice to just try and aid somebody if they were trying to capture his essence of his sound. You know.
Interesting.
So it can be a lot of different things, you know.
Cool. Thanks for that.
And also, Garrett had an interesting thing that he said in the chat. So, Garrett, why don't you unmute yourself and why don't you mention that again?
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so I get a lot of people say that a professional studio environment is no longer technically necessary. It's just a kind of a sale to get the client in there in order to, you know, to charge them that exponentially high rate. But a lot of people say, you know, that is the isolation booth. I agree, in a controlled room. You know, that's what I think is, you know, that's what I think that they're missing doing it at home. You know,
well, who's making that statement first of all?
Who's they?
That's what I want to say.
Who's they?
Of course, musicians, of course.
Yeah. Well, again, you're dealing with a captive audience. They're stuck on one thing, which is music. But I know for what I do, I have to use a laboratory setting if I'm dealing with tapes. Just in a restoration conversation, if I'm dealing with 2-inch tapes, I need someplace that has a 2-inch 24 track. I need someplace that has a 2-track. I need someplace where I can have calibrations going on that are accurate. Someplace where I can have tape maintenance and, you know, baking that's there on site. Okay, I need gloves. I need things that keep the room at a constant temperature. I need a as close to a laboratory type setting when I'm touching something that has a limited lifespan. Because even though I could technically do it in my house, but I would have to bring some of these things in. It would be convenient, but it would be inconvenient because my house is not a laboratory. My house is where I live. So while I do have Pro Tools and other stuff in my house, is a limit to it. As far as the large format studio, it's still necessary because not only the isolation rooms, the acoustics, the drums, things that are happening when you want to record with more than one person. The fact that we have the advent of the home studio and we can get this myopic view of what you want to do musically, and sometimes music, when we get into an audio recording conversation, the music portion of it puts a fence up because now everybody says everything in relation to audio recording into what they know about music and how they do music, but audio recording is much bigger than music. So if you're going to practice being an engineer and practice audio recording, you're going to appreciate the large format studio for the multiple environments it offers, the laboratory setting, the consistent electrical things that are in place so that you don't have some of these anomalies that happen when your grandma turns on the washing machine and you're trying to do a vocal in the bathroom with mattresses up, right? That's not cool, man. And so whatever music person, you know, they can easily say that because what's going on now fits their wallet. But what ends up happening is that you're trying to do something and you get an opportunity to record somebody. You don't want them in your room with your stink underwear on the lamp. You know, you want them the best way you can capture them with the most possibilities of getting the combinations of different acoustic settings. You know, yeah, I could fake it at my house. I could put somebody's amp into a closet full of coats, turn it all the way up, and I might have a chance to get something really interesting. I could forever modify things with packing blankets, this and that. But then what ends up happening is you get off into this whole extended area of trying to compromise and make the Band-Aid that you're putting on what you're doing so complicated. It's like, you know what, you're better off for this portion of the record going to a large format studio, which is what people do now. When they have the opportunity to record somebody great or do something with multiple people, they'll go to a large format. And then when they finish that exercise, they go back to their house, they get it together, keep assembling, or they'll send it to somebody and say, hey, put some guitars on this. They'll send it back to them. Then when they want to go mix, they say, you know what, now I'll go to the large format because I need to hear the room, I need to hear the tracks breathe, I need space. More often than not, you'll hear them say, I need space. So there's always a reason to have a consideration to the large format. It's never, oh, I can do it all in my house. You know, I suppose you can, you know, but it doesn't mean, just because you can don't mean you should.
Right.
Well, let me say something on that too, because the whole reason why I asked you that question of who is they, and Dave touched on it. I mean, the they that says that are the they that's still trying to get there. So that's why they say that. There's a reason why everybody that makes it, see, that's a financial-based conversation. That's a wallet-based conversation. But everybody that makes it, that can go to a big studio, does go to a big studio eventually because of, like Dave said, the key word is it's a laboratory. You know, while you can get things accomplished in your own home studio, and I think right now it's a balance of the two, but in the end, anybody that's doing it on a high level, even if they started in their home or they create their own home studio environment to be a laboratory environment, they build it out like a real professional studio. Because once you get the money to do that, there's a whole nother level of control, and there's a whole nother level of things that you can uncover and hear when your studio is a professionally made, tuned, all the other things going on. I mean, things down even to the electricity. Your electricity running in your home. I have a box here that me and Dave used to go around and use all the time. And we just plug in the wall outlets, and you would hear, it would let you hear what the city current sounds like. I've still got the box here because I bring it out every now and then. And like for me here in my home, well, I do things here and everything, but I would never do anything that was super, super critical to be on a competitive basis and try to finish it here, because I know there's too many general areas that are undone here. You know, you've got to have a laboratory environment to get the best, most competitive thing. You can get some things done at home, and if your wallet only dictates that you do it at home, that's fine to get to the next level. As soon as you can afford to go in, and everybody, I've seen it time and time again, I don't see anybody that once they became superstars say, oh, I'm not going into the big studio, I'm going to continue doing it here or down here. They always want to step it up to that next level to be competitive. So that's definitely a wallet-based conversation. That's why I asked you, well, who is this they that keeps saying that? Because that's, you know, they're still trying to step up here, but I guarantee you have that same conversation if they end up having a huge hit record and getting in some big checks. Because some of that money is going to start going into the big studios.
Now that leads to my next question then. Mobile recording versus, say, a small location. Like, say, purchasing a car hauler and overhauling it to the best acoustics possible. I understand it is mobile, but you can build it out right. I've seen them, you know, like the broadcast trailers in a sense.
Right.
What's your take on that, and what do you see a future in that is more available to, like, artists not so much on a higher up level, like the everyday Joe?
I think you should look at the equipment that's coming out now, because the nature of the gear that's coming out now allows you to do a lot of these functions without the need for the physicality, the exercise of it. You know, a standard trailer, a little small trailer, is going to cost you about $12,000. Okay. To have something that you could just sit in and have some gear in and do that, let's say you spend another $20,000, right? Freak it out, and that's really a tight budget. You're still limited in what you can do. But when you look at the equipment and the advancements that are out there in technology, right now most venues in most places are digital consoles. Most digital consoles, if they're either a Yamaha or a Digico or anything like that, they have the ability to have cards and an investigative system called Dante. Okay? And Dante is a protocol that allows you to go over an Ethernet cable. You get 40 channels. So I can mix front of house, take my laptop with Dante, and make sure that my front of house console has a card. While I'm mixing the show, I can also record 40 channels. I don't need a truck. I don't need anything. I can just get a guy to monitor the 40 channels and make sure that everything's going there okay. So, and even if we don't do anything as complicated as that, Khaliq's one of the companies that Khaliq works with is PreSonus. PreSonus has a whole line of consoles and a whole line of software specifically for recording multi-track live off of moderately priced hardware, and it records very good. I've used it before. He's used it before. It records very good, and you take it right back and you're ready to edit. So there are some advancements that have happened that allow you to escape having to have the physical need to have this is my truck, in essence, you know what I mean? Because if you got a truck, that means you got to roll out a cable. You got to, you create these products because you want to deliver it a certain way. if you could carry in your backpack the ability to do 40 channels, would you want a trailer?
No, but what if it was more based on not so much like live setups, but on location to so-and-so's house to record so he doesn't have to go to a physical studio?
You could still do that in 2 cases. You wouldn't need a trailer. There's a friend of mine named Flash Ferrucci. If you go on my Facebook, you can friend him. That's all he does is live recording. He uses 2 racks. And he just 2 racks and a laptop. And he goes everywhere and live records. And so you can really do it with a minimum amount of hardware now. And like I said, with an investment in look at the PreSonus line of gear. With an investment of one of those mixers and a FireWire cable and a computer, you basically have done what you need. I mean, and a splitter. Man, that's probably all you need is a splitter. And you've done everything that you need to do right there, because the PreSonus will give you the digital inputs. It'll give you the track assignability through FireWire to strip record from start to finish any rehearsal, performance, live show, or anything, and give you total file conversion as you store it. So you don't have to do these extra steps. You know, even if you were to do like my friend Flash and you have the units there, you do all that. He still has some backing up he has to do after it's finished. The cool thing about the PreSonus method is once you finish and you end this thing and you save it, it's already in packets, and the next time you go to that drive and pull it out and ingest it into Pro Tools, it's there as a AIFF sound file, or what is it, WAV file, Khaliq?
It's one of the 2. I can't remember. I think it's settable between both of them.
You're ready to go. So you know, I think mobile recording is good. I think as an engineer, any engineer who's complaining about lack of work needs to investigate what it takes to go somewhere and bring recording to where someone with some money is to pay for recording, because that's one of the ways you create work, is you go to where the money is.
Well, and hey, let me say one part, Garrett, because I think part of what you asked too is it has a 2-part answer. It's a 2-part question with a 2-part answer as well, because mobile recording, but attached to being able to have mobile mixing. If you had to have that where your monitoring situation needs to be more accurate, then you might need to have some kind of a build-out type of situation. For example, like you know, like say for example the Academy Awards. One of my mentors, Tommy, and some of these other guys out here that do stuff like that. They will go to a venue that has everything, and you could actually bring in a portable setup, but it's also broken out to a truck as well that has a known sound inside of it for capturing and broadcasting in a whole nother way, or capturing for later distribution out there and everything. So you might want to have something that you build out that is still mobile for the capturing, but you also know that what you're capturing is you know, how you're monitoring it is coming back without any unknowns in the equation. So that might be the second part of where you may need to have and build out some kind of system that has that can get up and go where you need it to go, and then you have consistency no matter where you're at and no matter what tools you are. Your monitoring and your ingestion is going to be, you know, a known quantity to you. So that might be the only add-on that I'd say to that.
Like a mobile location, basically, is what it is. You know?
Yeah, because the whole reason for mobile is to be portable and go where the action is, like Dave was saying. You know, so one of the things is if you do already have it built out or whatever, and you just got to ride and show up and plug in a couple of things, there's something to be said for that too, and that's still going on now. So even with some of these huge productions and everything, the big trucks will still roll up and attach to all the rest of it, and everybody has a known place where they're working from.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. So guys, if anybody has anything else, you know, interjected now. Otherwise, I think we had a pretty good discussion. We'll wrap it up here for the day. Everybody cool?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say you know, this year is starting out with a bang, and some great things are lining up. Keep watching us every week. We're back on it now. We'll be doing our Hangouts and giving you different ways. And this year, for me, my thing is we were trying to see how is this year shaping up. So I'm going to start rolling out to you guys a very, very more structured way of leading you through a process to keep upping your game, me keep upping my game. One of the things is like, for example, I'm going to start doing a segment on here that I want to do where we start examining some of the new tools come out and see why, because there's so many things out here. Like I said, the fire hose just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I want to start digging in on a few things that are popping up that are really good and digging in and see why we should focus in a little more in one area versus another. And a lot of options coming out. Let's see how to get the most out of some of these things instead of just kind of taking a whole bunch in and not having a structured way of getting the most usage and the best usage out of our time. And a lot of other things, I want to get more into over the course of this year about business aspects and how to make sure that you solidify your career, how to think ahead that if some of the things that you want to do, if they don't come through for you. A lot of people don't ask that question. They want to be a star and they want to do all these things, but what if it doesn't happen? What other way can you use to, because when you look and examine it and look and examine it deeper, you can actually almost insure against it happening if you think about it in front. So I'm going to examine a few aspects of that. This is one of the reasons why I started learning how to do my business more online, because I realized back in the day that sitting around waiting for a record company to call me all the time, is definitely a recipe for disaster and getting just messed up because you're leaving it in somebody else's hands. So I'm going to be sharing some things that I've learned, things like we all have to learn how to market ourselves more. What's some of the best ways of doing that to get income coming in various different ways. You hear the term multiple streams of income. This is what keeps me going on now. I have multiple streams coming in, and I think everybody should learn that skill these days. So we're going to be handling a whole bunch of stuff over this up and coming year. I'll tell you more as we go on, but just you want to stick with us. Get on my list. If you're not on the list, go to mymusichangouts.com and then just put your name and email in there, and then you'll be notified when we start doing some stuff, and I'm building that out more too. Anyway, everybody have a wonderful day, wonderful year. I just wish the best for everybody. I want this to be the best year for all of us that we've ever had, and let's all support each other. If you need any kind of support, how can I help you? Feel free to email me at Khaliq at Khaliq-O-Vision.com, and I will catch you guys on the next Hangout. Peace.
That's it, everybody.
Pleasure, chaps.
See you guys.
Peace.
All right. Peace.
Have a good one.
Later.